podcast.
You do?
With the Seahawks,
Oh, sweet.
and
Okay.
I started it like in my kitchen.
Yeah.
And then they got wind of it, and they're like, "Well, you can't. Like,
can't
you're-
do that.
It's like you're swearing and just drinking the whole time. we
That's
can't,
great.
We can't have that." So they started editing it themselves, and it just got. I mean, the whole podcast is different now.
Did it get? Yeah, because they've got to be in charge of it,
Yeah,
right?
they put it up on their website every week, so it's
And it probably gets what's it called?
kicking it with John and Greg.
Here we go,
Yep.
kicking it.
Real original.
But how does that make you feel? I mean, it's like you're still under their umbrella, right?
Yeah.
And maybe one day you retire, then you can do your own thing. But you kind of do you understand it, or is it annoying?
Both.
Yeah,
Both.
Yeah.
You know, because leading up to the election, I had some great
sure.
segments about the locker room talk.
Yeah, right,
You know, air
right,
quotes there.
right.
And it was shut down pretty quickly.
It was.
It never saw the light of day. So
Yeah.
stuff like that's frustrating. But then at the same time, I'm like, they're like, 50% of our fans are Trump fans.
Yeah.
I'm like, 47% of your fans are Trump.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. So that's interesting you bring that up. Tell me about that whole locker room talk thing. Because look, I played tennis, and we would kind of sometimes talk shit in the locker room, but football, there's higher stakes, there's more money. Was that a fair assessment of locker room talk?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Guys thought it was hilarious. I mean, guys,
Really?
guys talked about it all week. You know, everything was locker room talk that
Yeah,
whole week.
yeah,
And then,
I'm
you know,
sure.
His whole thing about grabbing by the
Yeah.
and that was kind of a big joke. I was like, I don't even know how you go about that.
It
You know,
does
but-
it does seem like that would be a tough thing to do, just go grab. I mean, how would you even do that if you are famous? You grab them by the pussy? I don't understand.
It's kind of some kind of lobster situation.
Yeah,
I don't know there.
So what is locker room talk then?
Locker room, it's funny because we spend so much time. I mean, we're
Yeah.
there 6 days a week,
Yeah.
8, 9, 10 hours every day.
Yeah.
So I think that people just people think we're almost like barbarians and sit
Yeah.
around and talk about
Yeah.
sex and women. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that would be exhausting to
Yeah.
do that for 10 hours
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was telling Sarah, my wife, Sarah
Yeah.
Colonna, stories from the locker room, and she's always like, she cracks up. She's like, locker room talk. And
Yeah.
we talk about the Bachelorette.
Right.
You know, we talk about bad
Oh,
reality.
shit.
We
God.
talk about
Yeah.
everything. You know,
Yeah.
it's not just a bunch of like
Yeah.
guys sitting around talking about women.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean that sounds exhausting.
Well, it is. It's like, yeah, exactly. And but what always makes me fascinated with, and I'm, well, first of all, we will talk about the Super Bowl happened yesterday. But secondly, I've never been in a locker room or with other millionaires. Does that affect anything? That like you've played football, and what other sports did you play besides football?
I grew up playing lacrosse and hockey.
Okay, so you've sat in all.
everything, really.
Okay, you've sat in every single locker room. But if you were to go into a locker room of 7th grade versus the Seattle Seahawks
Right.
locker room, is it different? Just because now Russell Wilson's there and your coach is a millionaire, does it change anything?
Maybe in a way, I don't think guys even really think of that. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a bunch of guys
Yeah.
together. You know,
Yeah.
it's really similar to that of probably like a beer league hockey team.
Right.
What they talk about compared to what
Yeah.
we're talking about. But
Maybe the watches are nicer.
the
and
watches are nicer,
yeah.
and the cars in the parking lot are a lot
Yeah.
nicer, and
Yeah.
we go home to nicer homes.
What was your goal always to be a professional football player?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. I wanted to be a professional punter since I was like 7 years old.
And what drew you to that position?
Really, it all stemmed from my love of football.
Yeah.
Growing up, I loved football more than anyone should do. A healthy person.
More than anybody should.
And it literally started from playing football after school.
Yeah.
All the guys would go out and we'd all play football. And then eventually, kids would get tired, have to go in. And then
Yeah.
my brother and I, and we'd play, catch or one-on-one football. And then
Yeah.
eventually, hours later, he'd get bored. And then I'd literally just be left alone with a football.
Right.
And
Might as well kick it.
that's how it started.
Yeah.
And it sounds so sad.
That's not sad.
Just a kid alone on a football field by himself.
You were the last one
But-
standing. Everyone else had
Yeah.
to go. How did you get good kicking coaching? Because that doesn't really have. There doesn't, like, I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, a big football
Right.
city. I don't even remember there being a kicking camp or anything.
Right. No, and I grew up in the middle of the prairies of Canada.
Yeah. What's the city, was it?
Regina, Saskatchewan.
Okay, yeah, sure. I performed there at the Yuck Yucks there.
Oh yeah.
I think it's gone now.
I believe there's some kind of little comedy club
Yeah.
in one of the hotels now.
Yeah,
But,
that's where Regina. Yeah. Oh my God, long time ago.
Yeah. No, but I literally, it was just me for hours and hours. And then on Sundays, I'd watch football, and I'd press record when the punter came upfield.
I love it.
And press stop, and just do that all day. And then at the end of the day, I'd watch the video back.
I love it.
Just punts all day.
I love it.
And, so I was just kind of like working on it myself, and I just kind of honed my own craft. And I later on got some coaching when I was really not until I was in college.
I mean, where'd you go to school? I should
in my hometown.
Yeah, okay,
at the university there.
And then did you look to go to the States for college? You didn't want to? You knew you could be you would still be seen if where you were playing?
I really wasn't recruited. No one wanted me. I think the only team that really even gave me any respect or wanted me was my hometown college football team. You know, and at the same time, I was a receiver. I started all 4 years at receiver in college, and I knew if I was going to go play at Division I school, I wasn't going to be punting and playing receiver. I was going to be punting, and so that was kind of nice for me just to be able to how 4 more years of receiver, and then from there kind of went to the Canadian Football League. And that's really kind of how I got discovered playing there.
And how many years were you in the CFL?
2 years.
And then Green Bay got you?
Then Green Bay signed me out of there, yeah.
And is that like the most exciting moment of one's career when that happens, or is it going to the CFL? Like, what was the big holy shit, I think I maybe made it type thing?
There's been a number of them.
Yeah.
Definitely signing that first NFL contract was kind of top 5.
That must be nice.
And I remember I was so driven to get that contract to play in the NFL. I remember signing it, and someone asked me what my contract was worth, and I had no clue. I literally had no clue how much the money it was worth.
Yeah,
because it didn't matter to me whatsoever. I just wanted to play in the NFL so badly.
And are you secretly hoping your offense sucks so you can kick a lot? No,
but there's games where you're starting to you're feeling the groove, and you're like, man, I can you get very few chances to change the game as a punter. There's very few games in my career that I can be like, I changed that game. But when you're feeling it, you kind of want to be able to be put in that spot and succeed when you are put in that spot. But at the same time, you never cheer against your own team.
Of course, it seems like. Well, first of all, how was the punting yesterday at the Super Bowl?
I thought it was good.
I don't remember too much. I don't remember too much happening with punting. So that's probably a good sign.
Edelman had a few good returns. I think he had like 3 returns for 40 yards or something like that.
Yep.
But Bosher hit the ball well, and so did the Allen kid. So
when the commentators now, I noticed yesterday when the punter would kick and it would say this ball is end over end. Yeah. That is a description. That means a different type of punt, right?
It's a different kind of punt.
Can you explain that to me, please?
It's a lot like if you've ever seen rugby or Aussie rules football. When they kick it, it goes end over end, and that's actually a style of kicking that Darren Bennett brought over from Australia in I want to say late 90s, something like that. And he was kind of the first to do it, and now everyone has it in their bag of tools.
What does it achieve? Because normally you guys are spiraling the ball, right?
You can control the ball a lot better.
Okay.
You have a good hang time. You can pretty much a 5-yard halo of where it's going to land.
Okay.
And it's just it's very useful for a team like us with a good defense.
Yep.
One of the best defenses. A lot of times you don't need a 60-yard punt. You might need a 40-yard fair catch. And you don't have to risk that long return doing that. As well as everyone uses it now when they kind of hit the 50-yard line, what they call pooch punting.
Yeah, and they kind of pin the team in the corner, right?
And the old school guys always want to talk about the coffin corner and how exciting that was. And why don't you do that anymore? We don't do it anymore because this is better.
Yeah, right.
We found improved. We found something that works better, and that's why we use this Aussie kick or end over end kick as they call it.
And so in an ideal situation, it's a fair catch like at the 5 or the 10, or is it to pin it like on the 1 yard? I mean, obviously that's the best case, but that's much harder to do, correct?
Much harder to do. Yeah. I think usually most coaches have the returner stand heels in the 8-yard line, some in the 10, and usually the rule of thumb is if you have to back up, you let the ball go.
Okay, got
then
it.
You take the risk of it going into the end zone, and we hope it kicks back. Or if it's in front of the 8 or in front of the 10, then you fair catch it. So.
Tell me how, first of all, this is fascinating. John is married to Sarah Colonna, who's been on this podcast, who's a stand-up comedian. But I remember I first met you when I was at Fox Sports 1. I used to have the segment called This Week in Punting, and you made some great tackles, and we ended up showcasing you. But then this year, you had to make another tackle, but you got knocked out, right? What happened this year?
No, I ran with the ball.
Oh, you ran with the balls. Okay.
I mean, I feel like I keep myself in pretty good shape.
You look like pretty good.
I feel young. I'd never felt more like a 35-year-old man.
Really?
When I got
What happened? What happened?
You know, it was a called fake, and it worked absolutely perfectly. You know, just like the partying of the season. I'm running.
Right.
I
remember this.
Don't run
now.
often with the ball.
Yeah.
And it slipped out of my hand.
Oh,
and
shit.
as it slipped, I'm going to get it, and I get nailed right in the side of the head, and I was put to sleep. It was a pretty. I mean, I've had concussions before. You know, as I mentioned, playing receiver in college. I had probably more than my fair share of concussions, but this one I've never been put to sleep quite like that.
Oof.
I was on the field for a while.
And why did the ball slip out of your hands? Because you couldn't believe how wide open you were.
Partially, but one the. People don't know the kicking balls are different than the balls the rest of the team uses.
Okay, why?
The quarterback. Back in the day, punters got to do whatever they wanted with the balls. Yeah. So they would, basically they'd overinflate them, put them in the dryer, put them in water. They do all this stuff to them, and the NFL stepped in so they try to control that stuff. So now, it's kind of boring, but
it's not boring.
Start of every game, the referees bring 6 footballs in a sealed, locked bag.
Are you serious?
They bring them into a room.
Is this post Deflategate or this is before Deflategate?
Because the Deflategate quarterbacks still get to bring their own balls to this game.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks they work with their balls all week.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Work with their footballs all week. I was just
That's better. No, it's okay.
They work their footballs all week, and they have what do they rub mud on them or whatever they have, and every quarterback likes them a little different. And they bring their balls to the game. And that's what they use.
Huh,
so each team. So they also go through a check, like an official comes and checks every ball for the pressure and everything. So in the kicking game, they bring what they call K-balls, which are brand new balls right out of the bag. And 2 hours before the game, we send in a guy, and the other team sends in a guy, and an official goes into this room, and they're allowed a towel and a brush, and each team's representative breaks in 3 balls.
So Seahawks get 3, Lions get 3, and then you're only kicking the Seahawk ball.
It's not totally cut and dry. It's kind of like an unwritten thing where you do that. But again, the balls, once they're prepped, the referee has to come in,
check it out,
literally signs it or stamps it, whatever he does to say that the ball is okay. And those are the balls we use in the game. So even before the game, the referee will be holding the kickoff ball like on the sideline, and we're not even allowed to touch it.
Interesting.
You can go over and he's like, you can look at it, but don't touch it.
It's fascinating. It's a fucking sport, but I guess there's money and a lot of stakes, and it's interesting. Well, it's like baseball players. You ever see hockey players with their sticks? Holy shit, huh?
Yeah, that's a doctor job.
They sleep with them, and they wrap them in all these different I mean, that. It's crazy. When is your birthday, John?
November 26th.
November 26th. Yes. American Thanksgiving for a Canadian.
It's
around there.
It's fallen a few times.
Yeah. What was your birthdays like growing up in Regina?
It was always good. My parents always kind of did it up for what we had.
Yeah.
We used to, my brother and I, we were all sports all the time. So
okay, so older or younger brother?
2 years younger.
Okay.
So we grew up playing sports together. We played college football together.
Okay. That's great. You get to be on the same football team as your bro.
Yeah, it was really cool. Played high school football together. So it was always really cool. But we'd always usually just like rent out a gym and have all our buddies over and play floor hockey or football.
Yeah, because it's freezing.
It's freezing at that time. I mean, it's really cold. November is already like 4 feet of snow.
Yeah.
Minus 20.
And it's flat as shit up there, right?
Oh, you can.
I remember driving from Regina to Saskatoon.
Yep.
And the other comic I was with says, you see that little, that city over there? And I was like, yeah, and he's like, that's Saskatoon, or that's Regina. It was 3 hours away.
Oh yeah, it's like 150 miles away. So there it is. We just got to go there. It's like that. The big joke is always you can watch your dog run away for 3 days.
Oh, that is funny.
It's not.
That's a good joke. I like that.
Yeah, it's not that far from the truth.
Yeah. So, what's your brother do?
He's a mortgage broker back in my hometown.
Back in home, okay. All right. And so you would usually hang with your bro, rent a floor hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the worst birthday that happened to you?
The worst birthday I can think of is where I grew up in Canada. The drinking age was 19.
Okay.
So our 19th birthday
was the big one.
It was like the 21st birthday.
And this is the province of Saskatchewan. Okay, got it. Yep.
And so, as I said, my birthday's November 26th. So I was could have went forward in school and been like the younger kid in the class, or kind of stayed back and been the older kid in the class. And what my parents did is kind of held me back a year and ended up being the older kid in the class. In Texas they call it the kindergarten red shirt.
Yeah, right.
So you get that 1 year of high school football older. And so
I was held back a year too, ladies and gentlemen. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
It's pretty common.
And so I was the oldest of all my friends.
Got it.
And so for my 19th birthday, which is the big one, we went to Boston Pizza.
Yeah.
Which is like a glorified Applebee's with pizza.
I always joke in Canada about Boston pizza. I'm like, who named it that? Boston doesn't even have good pizza.
Yeah, it's only in Canada.
Only in Canada.
Boston.
Yeah, but it's like that. Boston is, of all the cities, you wouldn't name pizza after Boston.
Right, it's not like their thing.
Yeah, it's not like New York or Chicago. So you go to BP.
We go to BP, as they call it. Yeah. Big night. And I just remember sitting like at the head of the table with like 15 of my friends. Yeah. But they can't drink.
Oh,
but I can drink.
You can drink.
So I'm just the whole night, everyone's just sending me drinks to the end of the table.
Yeah.
And
your friends do drink, probably.
They all. I mean, we all started drinking when we were 14.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Right.
Of
course.
Molson Canadians.
Yeah.
Down the hatch.
But they can't. But also, Canada follows the rules more so than the States.
They do. They're
like strict.
And I think part of it, it's harder to tell if a guy is 21.
Yeah.
Where it's like 19, it's like you got to kind of, there's a lot of people in that kind of that range where you got to ID everyone 19. So I mean, I just remember sitting at the head of the table and just getting drunk while they're all drinking their Diet Coke or sneaking out to the car to have a beer or something like that. And so just thinking back and it just seems so sad.
Yeah.
Like, you fast forward 16 years, I'm 35. I mean, that's Tuesday night.
Yeah, well, you can just do that whenever you want.
Instead of being with all my friends, I'm just by myself. Probably that's what I'll do this afternoon.
What do you do in the off season? You drink a little more?
I drink a little more than I should.
Yeah, then you should.
But it's
during the season, are you drinking?
Maybe a little bit of wine or a couple beer at night, but it's so. By the time you get home, you're working. You get into work like 7:30. You get home at 4 or 5, and then you got to go and do it all over again the next day. You sit and watch TV, have dinner, and a couple beers, and then
then you feel good.
Going to bed.
Are you living? You live here now.
Live in Sherman Oaks, in the Valley.
Okay, but then, so what do you do during season? You got a place up there you rent out or something, or?
No, Sarah and I, we have a house there and the house here.
Okay, got it. So you just do that. Yeah. In Canada, are you allowed to be drinking when everyone else is not drinking if they're underage, or what?
Yeah,
they are.
As long as you have your ID.
So it's kind of sad.
Away.
Did anybody sing you happy birthday that year?
Yeah, it was probably one of those terrible restaurants where they bring out the crown,
happy birthday,
like a cupcake with a candle in it, and they put like a pie in your face or something ridiculous. I'm sure it was something like that.
Were you in college then?
Yeah, I would have been a freshman.
And so when were your games in college? Was it Saturday games like in the States?
We played mostly Friday night games.
Okay, got it.
In college in Canada, some Saturday afternoon games, but mainly Friday.
Were you guys good?
We were pretty good. Yeah, we went to the playoffs every year. Lost the national championship by 3 points in 2000 in Toronto.
Yeah,
but we were a pretty good team.
And then post. Like, how does it work? And forgive my ignorance, but how does it work with Canadian football? Like, do you get drafted just like in the States?
Yeah,
or what? Yeah. Okay.
You have a draft, and it's actually kind of cool because you get to play 5 years of college football in Canada.
Yeah.
You can leave after your 4th year, enter the draft, try out for a pro team,
get
cut, and go back for your last year.
That's nice.
So it's not like once you declare like in the NFL, it's in college, once you declare, you're done. Whereas here, you can even like go to training camp. You go through two preseason games. If you make it, you stay. If you get cut, you go back and play one more year.
It just seems more fair.
Yeah.
Canada's more fair about shit in general. You know what I mean?
And they have a draft just like the NFL, but only Canadian players are eligible to be drafted. So I was drafted in the 3rd round.
Third round as a wide receiver or a kicker?
Slash.
Slash. That's fun.
Yeah. Signed for $900.
I was going to ask you, what was it for? $900.
Signing bonus was $900, but to be paid out $300 a week during training camp.
Oh shit. So you and your yearly contract isn't determined yet. Is that right?
It was. I think my first year in Canada with all the bonuses and everything, I made like $55,000.
Okay.
This was almost 14 years ago. So for me, as I said, I was a little bit older, so all my friends were doing the 5-year college thing.
Yeah.
So they're still still got another year of college left.
Yeah,
I'm playing pro football, making $55,000. I thought I was rich.
What city are you in?
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg. Okay. Winnipeg. By the way, I'll be in Winnipeg next week at the Rumors Comedy Club.
Right on.
Never been there.
Check them out.
Should I check out? Should I throw out John Ryan's name around? Will something good happen?
You'll get you kicked right out of any bar.
Literally kicked. They punt you out of the bar. Oh, that's a good one. 55,000. Then 2 years. 2 years at Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And then the Green Bay.
Then the Green Bay.
And what was that contract? Can I ask you that? Is it rude to ask people that? It is, right?
I don't. I mean, you can go on Google and find it right now.
There we go. So that's the whole point. So fucking tell me, John.
What was I got a $35,000 signing bonus.
That's nice.
Which was huge, and also that was like $50,000 in Canadian.
$35,000, and you just your previous contract was a $900 signing bonus.
Yeah. I thought I was rolling in it.
Yeah.
Bought a new Honda. Well, I bought a used new Honda. Yeah. Yeah, I think when I signed it was like $241,000 for my first year, and then they redid it because I was like league minimum. They redid the CBA right after that, and it ended up being like $275,000. And then it goes up like $75 or $85,000 a year. All the minimums in the NFL do.
And is it a 1-year contract?
It was a 3-year contract.
Okay, that's nice, right?
And then I got cut in my third training camp and ended up signing with Seattle.
How did they cut you?
They cut you in terrible ways.
They do?
For me, I was the only punter in training camp all the way through training camp.
So you've got to feel good about that.
I think I was like second or third in the NFL in the preseason in punting average. My very last play as a Green Bay Packer was a high snap.
Yeah.
Guys, take it down, run it 34 yards to set up like the game time. I'm like,
what?
Man, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah, you're the only punter on the team.
Come into the office and bring your playbook. So it was.
Oh shit!
So it was literally they made all the final cuts, and I'd made it through.
Yeah.
And, I was feeling pretty good about things, and then on the Monday before the season, I caught wind that they were working out a punter. I was like, what are they working out a punter?
Yeah.
And then
how do you catch wind of that? Some teammate
from my agent. My agent, it's on the waiver wire or the wire or whatever they get.
Yeah.
And, he found out that they were working them out. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's kind of.
That's
whatever.
not a good sign.
It's not a good sign.
That's not a good
sign. And as a guy who I'd played in Canada for 2 years. This is my third training camp in the NFL. Like I'm on to it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get totally blindsided.
Right.
And so the next morning, I'm on my way to work and get a phone call. I'm just like, oh, that's I know what's going on. I just went right upstairs and John Schneider, the one of the player personnel guy or the pro personnel guys at the time. Released me, and fast forward now he's a GM of Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, Johnson, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So that sucks. So you get cut, and then what do you do? Turn around and go pack up your shit?
Yeah.
Go work. Can you still use the facilities?
No, you're out.
You got to go get a gym membership somewhere?
Exactly.
Are you fucking...
That sucks. I kicked on a baseball...
Sports is so brutal.
It's Green Bay, Wisconsin, so there's not just a ton of football field. I'm kicking on a baseball field all week, working out at the 24-hour fitness.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. I mean, so fortunate the way it worked out. I mean, by Friday... Seattle had contacted me and they wanted to work me out on Monday.
Okay.
As it turns out, their punter didn't have a very good game that Sunday. They called me during the game to get my butt to Seattle as quick as possible. They
called you during the game.
They called me at halftime.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
That means that's like if I'm on stage and I'm not having a great set and the owner's like calling other comics like, how quickly can you get fucking down here?
It was crazy because I'd already scheduled to fly in on Monday morning from Green Bay to Seattle on Monday morning to work out.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going to happen. This poor guy is not having a great game. They call it halftime. They go, how quickly can you be here?
Jesus Christ.
I'm like, well,
I'll go to the airport
I'm
now.
unemployed right now, so I'll walk there right now if you need me to. And they're like, we just want to see you. We want to work you out, but we're going to sign you as long as you can swing your leg, basically. And
Right. Wow, that feels good.
Feels good.
Why did Green Bay cut you? I mean, it's not that you were too expensive.
No. It was one of those things that the special teams coach never really liked me. Didn't really like the way I kicked. Didn't really like what I did. And it was one of those things where I signed with the team. It was a brand new coaching staff.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy. That was his first year.
Yep.
So he was there, and he hadn't even hired all his coaches yet. So he signed me before he hired the special teams coach. And so the special teams coach was kind of like all of a sudden stuck with me.
Right.
And he never really warmed me.
Okay.
Warmed to me.
So personnel, any job has these types of things that happen.
Yeah.
And you go to Seattle, and it just seemed to work, right?
It really did. I remember my first couple of games there. I remember my first game there. I had like 4 punts, and like 2 of them were a touchback, and 2 were like worm burners.
Yeah.
And I got booed every time I stepped on the field. So I think it was 4 or 5. Oh, the second punt got blocked actually. So it was like 5 punts.
Okay.
I got booed every single time. I was
shit.
like, these people hate me.
Yeah.
And now it's, I mean.
Did you think it was just first game jitters and new team? A
little bit, I think it's a little bit. It was one of those things where just, you're in a new situation. You're working with a new snapper. You're working with a new team, new coach, and it just, I remember kind of the first couple games were kind of rough. I was like, man, it's kind of week to week right now.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of, got into my rhythm and had a couple good years and ended up, signing a long-term contract from there.
That just gotta feel good, right?
That was also, we think back at some of the best moments. That's a top 5. When you're kind of. No, I was making great money, but it's league minimum, and I've been doing it for 6 years at that point. You never really think that's going to come, and then all of a sudden, it's out of the blue. You get a 6-year deal,
that's
and
fucking nice,
worth millions, and it's just
What'd you do? Did you celebrate? Had you met Sarah yet?
No, this was back. This was 2009.
Okay, wow.
So so it was like a 6-year contract, and I remember I had a girlfriend at the time, and she's like, where do you want to go? And I remember just getting the biggest dish or the biggest tray of McDonald's cheeseburgers that I've ever had in my life. I'm like, let's just go to McDonald's.
That's what you wanted to do.
I was like, yeah, and then
because you're probably disciplined about what you eat. And then this
especially
is like,
it was still kind of during the season, at the end of the season, so it was pretty cool. And then you kind of get the house, get the car. And,
that's great.
And then this last off season, I was fortunate enough to sign another long-term deal at. However, I'm 35 now and signed another 4-year deal. So.
And you're feeling good physically?
I feel great. Yeah. I feel stronger and better than I have when I was 25. So.
I love that. I'm sure Seahawks fans appreciate hearing that. Tell me, because this is a funny story, and it's funny how life works. That I knew Sarah, but then also got to meet you, and then now you guys are married.
Yeah.
Tell me how that happened.
Oh, it was crazy. Well, first of all, like when I met you, Super Bowl week, her and I had just started talking. We were just kind of flirting back and forth.
On direct message?
Yeah, at that point, yeah. So
sliding into the DMs.
That's how it started. So I had a crush on Sarah for months, maybe for a year.
Just from her comedy and her books?
No, I saw her on TV.
Okay.
I'd never seen her do stand-up, actually. I saw her on Chelsea lately and After Lately. They kind of had that sitcom After, or whatever you call it.
Yep.
And I just kind of had this big crush on her, I was like, oh, I'm gonna, and I'm not that guy. Like I never have celebrity crushes. Yeah. Just like I've never, it's never been me, except for when it came to her, I just had this big crush on her.
Oh,
and then
that's sweet.
I tweeted her one time. Yeah. And then she didn't tweet me back, but she started following me.
Okay, well, it's like a little bit of
this was like a couple months before, and then we were playing in the NFC Championship, and Ross Matthews, intern, do you know Ross?
Of course, yeah.
I think he does,
hey,
he does a lot of everything now.
That's my gay voice. Is that good?
It was spot on.
Yeah.
And so he was on the sideline for that game in the pregame.
Yeah.
And I remember going by, I'm like, oh man, this is my chance, because he used to host a lot. He used to be on the
Chelsea a lot. He had his own show on E.
So I kind of thought there's probably
this is your access point.
This is it.
Right.
This is it. So I went up and I told him, I'm a big fan of yours, and blah blah blah. And I'm
Are you in uniform?
Yeah, full uniform. This is like in pregame warm.
Russ is probably coming in his pants. All these football players running around him. I love this.
And so I talked to him and his brother, and I just said, and also, if you wouldn't mind putting in a good word with Sarah Colonna for me, if you wouldn't mind just slipping. And he's like, well, just tweet that tomorrow or in a couple days. So in a couple days I tweeted, I was like, great to meet you, Ross. And by the way, remember putting a good word with me with Sarah Colonna, something like hashtag celebrity crush, And then she tweeted back something kind of funny, and then I tweeted. Then we went back and forth for a couple days tweeting like dumb things. Then I was at the Super Bowl.
I wonder if that's still on your timelines. I mean, I'm sure we could dig in there deep, but some loser on the internet will dig that up.
Yep, they will.
Shouldn't have called you a loser, because now you probably won't.
You screwed that up. And then we were at the Super Bowl, and it was kind of the Monday night. It's kind of the one night you get to go out for the Super Bowl. And everyone thought we're in Manhattan, we're partying. No, we're like in Jersey City.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I'm in the Chili's bar by myself, having a couple beers, probably a couple too many, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna DM this girl.
So this was Monday
before the Super Bowl.
And the Super Bowl's Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember you came on Crowd Goes Wild. We went down to Madison Square Garden, and it was the other punter as well. Do you remember his name?
Britton Colquitt.
Yeah, Britton Colquitt. He was a good dude.
Great guy.
Hi, Britton. And I still have a picture of all of us hanging out. But yeah, so you're having some beers Monday before Super Bowl, and Liquid Courage tells you, why don't you DM her?
I'm just gonna DM her, give her my number. I sent her a message that said, here's my number, so we can start planning our wedding.
Oh, I love it.
And I was like, I know how awkward this is, but here it is. And then
someone's always got to make the initial vulnerable move. Somebody, and it's never fucking them.
Right, and then I went back to the hotel, fell asleep, and then I literally remember waking up and being like, what an idiot. I misread this thing hard. What an asshole. And I rolled over my phone, I had 2 messages from her from late the night before,
nice.
just telling her, she just said, your pickup attempt worked, here's my number.
I love it.
Just started talking.
And there we go.
Then fast forward to July, we just got married.
I love it.
And Ross Matthews officiated the wedding.
I didn't know that.
Full circle, right?
Oh my God, I love that. You hear that, everyone out there? You never know how love is going to hit you in the face, and maybe it's through Ross Matthews. What was he? He was on the sideline.
Yeah, for the pregame. He's a hardcore Seahawks fan. He's a huge football fan.
I love it. Yeah. I wouldn't have expected it. I'm drawing stereotypes, but I wouldn't have expected it, and that is. I think
him and his boyfriend Sal watch Sunday football in Palm Springs every single Sunday.
That's just so funny.
They're hardcore.
How is that not a TV show? Watching football with Ross Matthews in Palm Springs. John, what was a great birthday that pops into mind if I ask you that? I mean, November 26th sounds like a bad birthday. Was 19, just drinking by yourself.
Yeah.
With all your friends who are sober.
I don't have any great birthday stories, to be honest, because it's now I've been playing, I played in the NFL for 11 years, going on 12 years now.
Yeah.
Next year, and
you're probably always in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it. And actually, before I came here, I looked. I was like, man, I wonder if I have any good football stories for my birthday. In 11 years, I've never played on my birthday.
Is that right?
I've played on November 27th, day after my birthday, 5 times.
Yeah.
Because it always falls right on Thanksgiving. So kind of my best birthday a couple years ago when it fell right on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
In the NFL, that's one of the only days of the year they try to give you all the way off. I mean, I think we worked until 2 that day, which is a big break at that time of the season.
Right.
And just remember having Sarah around, doing the whole American. I still call it the American Thanksgiving.
Well, it is. I didn't even realize that the Canadians had a Thanksgiving until I read a fucking book one day. But it's there's other Thanksgivings out there, folks. Yeah. So this is American.
The third week or the second week in October. And it's on a Monday, and I was it was never a big deal in Canada. It was just another holiday. It was Memorial Day or Victoria Day, as they call it in Canada.
Yeah,
it wasn't a big thing because it was a Monday. Everyone had to work the day after, so most people just did a little turkey dinner on Sunday night.
Right.
Then I moved to the U.S. I'm like, man, you guys are really overdoing this Thanksgiving thing. I mean, it's bigger than it's a 4-day holiday basically.
And of course, like every major holiday in this country, the sport is embedded itself in its culture. It's a huge football. Well, that's great. I want to thank you very much for coming on Worst Birthday Podcast.
Anytime.
Where can everyone can find you on the Seattle Seahawks website, but where can they find your podcast and everything else that you'd like to promote?
Yep, my podcast, Kicking It with John and Greg.
Yep.
Is available.
Who's Greg?
Just a drinking buddy from Seattle.
Love it. Okay, great.
So it's we usually lead off talking about 4 or 5 minutes of football, and that leads into reality TV changing his kid's a crappy diaper. I mean, it goes in.
Right.
You never really know where it's going to go.
Yeah, that's kind of the
But
fun
you can get
it.
Usually, we haven't done it in a couple weeks because football's over, but we're going to start doing it again every week or every other week, and it's available on Tuesdays on iTunes.
Great. Okay.
As well,
your Twitter.
My wife and I, Sarah Colonna,
Yep.
will be at I forget what theater on Valentine's Day in Portland, Oregon. She'll be doing comedy, and then her and I will be doing a Q&A after.
Oh, that's fun.
You can get your tickets at her website, sarahcolonna.com.
That's Portland, Oregon on, that's going to be great. I love that city.
Yeah, I love it too.
That's great. Okay, awesome. And your Twitter is?
My Twitter has been erased.
It has?
That's a long story.
Oh, shit! Who erased it? Seattle? Seahawks?
No, I erased it after
it.
some bad run-ins after the Orlando shootings.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It seems... How many of we'll finish with this. How many of your teammates are on social media? Most?
I would say 99%.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anyone that's not.
It just seems like it's almost part of it now. It's not necessary, but it just seems like a lot of people are doing it.
And it's so annoying as a pro athlete because everyone wants to know what pro athlete what they really think about stuff.
Yeah.
And then you tell people what you really think about stuff. They're like, no one wants to hear what you have to say. Go back to
tell
punting.
us what you had for breakfast. Here's what everyone. Nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, it's like no. Politics isn't your place.
Well, and people must send you shit after a bad game, right?
It's awful. Yeah, it was awful.
And I can only imagine, fuck, man. What if you dropped the touchdown and pass in the fucking end zone?
Man. I mean, our kicker missed a kick this year.
Yeah.
It sucks. Do you think he tried to?
No, he's paid. No. He's paid to make it. He wants to make it. His family wants him to make it. Yeah.
He had death threats.
Oh,
people.
my
I mean,
God.
You just think of how sad someone's life is.
Yeah.
They want someone done for the dead for the way they performed on a football.
I mean, I also kind of respect that. When I would double fault, no one would tell me. No one would try to kill me. No one even noticed. So I have some respect for that. John Ryan, thank you for sharing your worst birthday, and thank you for coming here to All Things Comedy Network, man.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Perfect.